Wolfpack Nation, thank you so much again for tuning back in with us here for another episode of Tuffy Talk. Got an exciting one that we're definitely looking forward to. And again, now we're going to be diving a little bit more into softball. But first, we're going to be talking to actually a former in-state softball player. Actually, just left us last. Angie Rizzi, former outfielder with NC State. So, Angie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, I'm excited to talk with you guys.
Absolutely. So one of the first questions that everybody knows exactly what we're going to ask to start off with any interview person that we have is so just kind of give a little bit of insight in terms of where are you at now, what are you doing basically now ever since you've left NC State.
Yeah, so I moved back home, and home is back in New York. So right now I am actually coaching softball. I want to get back into the sport and give back to what the sport actually gave me. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And then obviously on my free time, just watching as much softball as I can because I miss it a lot.
So yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Where are you coaching at?
I'm coaching so right now it's at a little like 30 minutes from where I'm from up north at the team I used to play for travel ball. So I'm coaching there and then also doing lessons on the side. So
nice.
Cool. And I mean, it's so was coaching. I mean, is coaching kind of a long-term vision for you, or is it more just kind of a, in the interim kind of feel?
Yeah. So my whole life, I've always wanted to be a coach. So right now it is long-term. It's probably going to stay long-term for a while.
Sweet.
My goal is to coach at a Power 5.
Cool.
So that's what I'm going to start. Right now I'm starting, like lower levels, like high school players. Just trying to get into coaching. Obviously, coaching and playing is completely different. So just trying to get the aspect down of how to coach. And starting young is going to help me just to develop the skills of coaching. And then hopefully, a Power 5 can come calling. And that'll be like my long-term goal. So.
Yep. And so let me ask you, during your time so far coaching, has there been any surprises or anything, any big things that you've learned already just from your short time as a coach, kind of, transitioning from the player side to the coaching side?
I would say yes. I would say the biggest thing I need to learn is not like as a coach, you need to learn to be more of a coach than their friend in a way. And a lot of the girls kind of relate to me because we're really close in age. So I'm coaching I'm doing 10 U's, 12 U's, 14 U's, and 16 U's and 18 U's. So obviously when it comes to 16 U's and 18 U's, I'm trying to not be as friendly with them as friends, quote unquote. Obviously, I want them to be comfortable with me and they can come to me with whatever they have. But more of the sense that I need to be more willing to coach them and not be super friendly with them. I think that's the biggest thing that I learned is, especially when you get to the college level, obviously the coaches want the team to be comfortable with them, but you need to learn to there's a line you can't cross. So I think that's the biggest thing that I'm learning right now, is can't cross that line to be super, super friendly with them. So.
Okay. And so while you were at NC State, did you, I'm sure you had conversations with Coach Patrick Swift about your vision of coaching and things like that. So, I mean, and also too, I mean, obviously for us, again, we're always obviously learning more and more about the sport of softball, but I mean, I know that graduate assistance is a legitimate thing, even for softball, correct?
Yes, it is.
Is that something that maybe you would be open to if Coach Patrick Swift offered you the opportunity?
Oh, for sure. I would totally go back to NC State and help them out as a grad assistant.
Cool. Sweetness.
Good to hear.
Sweetness. And I mean, definitely it's it's a transition for sure. I mean, I know I saw on Twitter you retweeted, I think it was like a former college softball player saying, I miss college softball, and then it had like 300 retweets. So obviously you're not the only one in this boat. So
so watching it is like absolutely insane. Obviously I miss it, but just seeing like everyone do so well, especially like even the first weekend, there have been so many upsets and so many walk-ups already. And it's just the first weekend. I'm like, oh my goodness, I miss this so much, but it's exciting. I get to still watch. So.
So tell me though, so what is it, if you kind of had to maybe pinpoint, is there a specific thing or maybe a couple of things that you miss the most, about being, being in college softball? I mean, I know obviously former playing, I mean, there's probably a ton, but I mean, is there one thing in general that you can pinpoint?
I think just making the memories with your teammates is what I miss the most. Obviously, hitting the home runs and doing those walk-offs are obviously amazing. Like that's an amazing feeling, but just being around your team every day, like those are your best friends, like those are your sisters that you made for the past 4 years. So just being around them and traveling with them, making those new memories, experiencing new places to travel. That's probably what I miss most. So.
Amen. Awesome.
Is it nice to be able to kind of just watch as a fan though too at the same time?
It is. That would be like the one thing I always watch on TV is softball. Like obviously I do miss playing, but just having them on the screen every day, or even on my laptop, I watched them last weekend. And it made me sad a little bit. Like, I'm not going to lie, it made me a little emotional. I texted the coaches and I was like, I wish I could be out there with you guys, but I know you guys will do great. Let me know if you guys need anything. Always rooting for you from wherever I am. But just knowing I can always watch them and that they have my support always is nice.
Yeah. Amen. Awesome.
So I'm curious. I'm curious too a little bit. You mentioned being close. Like you have to be more of a friend to your. Like you don't want to be a friend to your players. You want to be you want to be friendly to them and have a good relationship with them. But you also need to realize that you're a coach. But you sound pretty close to Coach Patrick Swift and the staff. Can you talk about that relationship you guys have together?
Yeah. So the reason why we got along so well is because both Coach Patrick and Coach Swift were very big on family. And that's kind of the reason why I loved playing for them is whatever you have a problem with or whatever you need, that they'll always be there for you. They always say, like, we're your family away from your family. And just having that chemistry with your coaches is huge for sure. So not saying that you can't be friends with them. I mean, I still talk to them a lot, even though when I'm not there. But when it comes to like game time or practice, obviously, we can have fun and joke around and whatnot, but there has to be a line that you can't cross when it comes to being friends and coaches with them. But I always still have a really good relationship with these coaches.
So is there anything that Coach Pat that the coach had for you at NC State that you've taken? And I know you've talked about what it's like being there. It's how it's different, but is there anything specifically about her that you are trying to implement yourself now?
I think the biggest thing that I took from her is, like I said before, is just caring about your team. Obviously, coaches go through a lot. Players go through a lot. Being a student athlete is tough. I'm not going to lie. Like, it was tough. It was tough 5 years, like with the COVID year. But just knowing that you have a coach that you can rely on, whether it's your coaches, your teammates, just having like that close chemistry and close culture with your team and coaches, and knowing that your coaches will always care about you is huge. I think that's one thing that I definitely took from them is I know that I can always go to them, whether it's 5 years down the road, if I ever need anything, that they'll always still care about me and previous teammates before.
Awesome. And I mean, and kind of talking a little bit more about, well, first of all, so let me kind of learn something here. So you said Coach Patrick and Coach Swift. So is that kind of how they reference each other?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. See, I learned something new again. I literally was just calling them both Coach Patrick Swift. So, I mean, okay. Well, hey, awesome. So cool. Learned something new today. So, I mean, one of the things which, I mean, first of all, I love about Coach Patrick is, I mean, that she's so invested, like, in one example, which I love, and I still watch it to this day because it's hilarious, is the Georgia Tech game last year on the walk-off grand slam, and Coach Patrick, before the ball even leaves the field, is just run into the home plate and just absolutely tearing up a new one. And you can hear on the microphone, that is the worst piece of fishing I've ever seen. And oh my God, like thank goodness for that, for the mask, because I mean, obviously you couldn't read her lips, but you knew she was tearing them a new one.
Yeah.
And I mean, because I can't remember who was pitching, but whoever it was had pitched like 130 pitches. And so, I mean, you knew that that's really one of the biggest reasons. It was like, okay, this girl is just absolutely has gone, balls to the wall the entire game. And literally, this one pitch and you screwed it up, and now we're down, and just like that. And I I love it because again, I mean, it just, I mean, it just shows, how again she has her players back 100%,
Yeah.
and I mean, and it wasn't just like a reminder, like, hey, like, can you help out my pitcher next time? It was like you screwed us, like, and I love it.
Oh yeah,
It's great. So I mean,
it's awesome.
so
Like that just proves, obviously, like you said, it just proves that she cares about us. She knows how hard we work, and she knows how much we want to win those games, especially ACC. So once an umpire screws us bad, like they got our back, even if they just screw up a little bit. Like Coach Swift and Coach Patrick, even like if we are the ones in the wrong, they'll just like get us fired up by screaming at the umpire sometimes, and I absolutely love it because it just gets me excited more. So
yeah,
right, exactly. So kind of take a step back and kind of talk about, I guess, kind of what brought you to Tennessee State. So first of all, obviously in high school, I was taking a look at your stats. So you actually had a .488 batting average, 99 hits, 78 RBIs in 62 games. So that's crazy. And then you ended up at LIU Brooklyn. So first of all, I mean, so let me ask you. So, what kind of schools were you talking to at the time when you were in high school, and then what made you end up being at LIU Brooklyn?
So the schools that I were talking to when I was in when I was in high school were kind of close to home. I think the first one I talked to was maybe 2-3 hours away. And that was a big thing for me was I don't know if I was comfortable yet going super far from home. For the most part, I'm a homebody, and softball has been a huge part of my life, and my family's support behind it has been huge for me. So I was thinking if I went super far, I don't know if I would continue to have that support, or not as much because it'd be very, very difficult for them to travel. I have an older sister, so they had to commit to her as well. So I went to LIU, it was a great experience there. I did learn a lot, but as time went on, even when I was younger, my goal was to play at a Power 5, and have a chance to win a national championship. Like I want a ring on my finger. And, like I said, at LIU, I did learn a lot. It was close to home. I had my parents there every single game, and my grandparents and my sister whenever she can come. So having that family support definitely helped a lot. But I just knew that I wanted to go to a Power 5 and make a name for myself and kind of prove people wrong that I can play at a Power 5.
Awesome. I love it. And obviously, again, obviously you had a great year at LIU, batting, had a 354 batting average, 57 hits. So again, great year, so now the next season, 2018, your sophomore season, you end up at NC State, with Coach Patrick and Coach Swift coming for their first year. So kind of give me some of the stories that kind of led up to that. So I mean, kind of what, like, when did they contact you? What were the conversations like? How long did it take you to consider coming? All that jazz.
So actually, before Coach Patrick and Coach Swift, I had another coach, Coach Rychek, and I played with him for 1 year. So my sophomore year, I played with Rychek. And then they came in after that. But with Coach Rychek, I reached out to one of my former strength and conditioning coaches I used to have at LIU, and he knew like what I wanted to do with like the rest of my softball career. He knew I wanted to go big. So he reached out to someone he actually worked with, that was at NC State. When I reached out to them, they said, hey, like we're looking for an outfielder. If you want me to give you Coach Rychek's number, you can contact him and we can set up a visit. And I was like, yes, please. So he reached out to me without seeing any video, any like stats. I mean, obviously like my stats on the internet, like can prove a little bit that I can play, but he did not see me play in person.
Sure.
So he kind of just took a chance on me. And after that, he told me, he's like, I've never been so happy to take a chance on someone. And then, it made me feel so good. And just knowing that I can, obviously, because when you're from New York, it's not really big in softball, right? So being from up north, a lot of people don't really go big. So just knowing that I can probably put New York on the map and make a name for myself was an awesome feeling.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time wearing and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously growing up for me, I mean, I pretty much knew two colleges that played softball, and that was Oklahoma and Alabama.
Right.
And that's all I really knew. So, and obviously we've added a couple more. Hey, ACC, got to give a shout out to Florida State. You know, as much as they're an ACC contender, I mean, hats off to them for sure for putting the ACC on the map with at the top of college football. Or sorry, college softball. Yeah. So yeah, Coach Rychek. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more in terms of obviously what was your initial reaction when you find out that NC State was moving on from Coach Rychek? What was your initial reaction?
Obviously, I was upset because he was the one that gave me that chance. And I only had 1 year to play with him.
Right.
But just having that 1 year made me very, very happy. He was a great coach. He taught me a lot. Obviously, some things don't work out. And like the saying says, everything happens for a reason. But I wouldn't change what I learned from him. Like he has been ever since I got there, he has always been a huge supporter of me and taught me a lot. And even till this day, after I graduated, he reached out to me and congratulated on my great seasons and a great couple of years. And I didn't need anything. So obviously, I was really upset to see him move on and whatnot, but very, very happy that we had the coaches that we got.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
I'm curious too about you made a comment. Sorry, Lane. You got something you want to?
Go ahead. I was
going to say, like,
you got it, brother.
You made a comment about how the coach said they were glad that they took a chance on you. Mm-hmm. So they're glad they had taken a chance on somebody or something to that effect. And I'm curious, did you feel like you were taking a chance on yourself going from LIU to NC State? Now you said you wanted to,
for sure,
but I mean, he took a chance on you. Did you feel like you're doing that for yourself?
I did. I mean, like I said, my goal was to play on Power 5, and not gonna lie, I was nervous. I was so nervous to go play at a big school like NC State. They're in the ACC, tough competition. You have Florida State, now you have Clemson, you have Duke, Louisville. Like the people you play, obviously the competition is completely different from when I was playing at LIU.
Right.
So I knew that, I had to put in the work and dedicate every day to make myself 1% better. So I definitely did take that chance, but I couldn't be more happy that I did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Lane. Go ahead.
No. Well, I mean, because one thing which I was going to say is, I mean, one thing which I noticed looking at the stats is that you literally started every single game except for one game your first year, and you started every single game for 4 straight years. Like that's incredible. Like, I mean, you don't see that often, and I say that too, more of like I can't even imagine you just being happy to be at a Power 5 school, and then if like literally, could you imagine telling yourself when you first came in to say, hey, you're going to literally start every single game for 4 years except for one? Like that's crazy.
I mean, that obviously went through my head. I was obviously nervous I wasn't going to play. Going back to him taking a chance on me, he never saw me play ever in one game. So I was like, I need to prove myself that I can be on the field with these girls. And the whole summer, ever since I started playing, I dedicated every single day of my life to be one of the best players NC State has ever recruited. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that attitude. Awesome. Yeah. And, obviously one thing as well that, I kind of want to touch on is obviously in 2019. Anyway, the COVID year, basically, that was short. And, it's every single person we've had on and you ask them about it. I mean, it affects, and you obviously have to, find a way to rebound and find a way to deal with it. But I mean, what was that, from talking kind of from a player's perspective, what was kind of that whole process like? I mean, because pretty much obviously you're not a part of the decisions at all. You're just kind of like waiting for instructions, really,
Yeah, that was probably one of the most emotional weeks of my life. I'm not going to lie. Like we were, I think, loading the bus to go to Virginia or Virginia Tech. And 2 of my roommates went home to shower because we had lift like that morning. And they were like, well, we have time. We can just go home and shower. And then our coach comes in and she said to unload the bus, like, our season's canceled. And I looked at her, I was like, you're lying. I was like, there's no way. And she was like, me, like, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
That's probably the worst news I ever have to tell y'all, but like, it's canceled. And I was like, I was out of words. I was like, there's no way I'm never playing softball again. Like, I was so emotional. I started crying. And then I called my other roommates. I said, hey guys, like, don't rush back. Our season's canceled. They were like, you're lying. And I was like, no, like, coach just came in. Like, you guys still have to come back because she wants to talk to us about it. But we never loaded the bus. And when I tell you, like, I was emotional for probably over a week, it was terrible because I didn't know what the NCAA was going to decide. You know, you never, no offense against the NCAA, you never know with them because I was freaking out. Like,
no clue at all.
I was like, there's
no clue at all.
They're going to, like, not give me my year back. So that a couple months or however long it took to decide if we're all getting our year back was super, super stressful. But I knew that if I did get that year back, that I had to continue working. So, I mean, yeah, I was very emotional for a week, but I still went to the field and I still got my work in just in case, you know, they did decide to give us that year back, and gratefully that they did. So
yeah, because you guys were just barely a couple of weeks into the season, right?
And it was our best start of the season. I think it was that season. So,
absolutely. But one other point I want to make too before we wrap up part one here, Angie, is you mentioned again the statement saying that you wanted to leave NC State, being one of the best players that NC State's ever recruited. And I was taking a look at the record books, and so I'll kind of go through these. So you rank second in single season on base percentage, fourth in career stolen bases, fifth in single season slugging percentage, sixth in single season stolen base percentage, seventh in single season batting average, eighth in career runs scored, and eighth in career walks. And so, I mean, I say all of that saying, I mean, again, so I mean, you know, obviously there's been a lot of softball players throughout NC State's history. So, I mean, you know, to have your name, not just, you know, a couple times, but multiple times throughout the record books, you know, being in the top 10 in multiple different categories is awesome. So, I mean, you know, and that's one of the reasons that we were excited to have you on. Because, I mean, I do truly feel, I mean, definitely that, you know, if there's a, you know, like, you know, an all-time NC State, you know, team, you know, first, second, third team, whatever you want to name it, that, I mean, you're easily in that conversation. So, I mean, it's awesome. And so, you know, kind of, you know, again, kind of wrapping up here, you know, if you wanted, I mean, I know obviously that, you know, one of the answers could be, you know, I mean, that obviously you said at the beginning that you wanted to come to NC State to win a national championship, put a ring on the finger, which, you know, again, you know, obviously, unfortunately, that wasn't able to happen. But I mean, you know, looking back at your time, I know you said, again, you still even said you miss it, you know, a ton. But I mean, you know, do you have any regrets at all? I mean, you know, not being able to pull off a championship. I mean, does that go through your head at all?
I don't really go back on regrets. It's just, for me, is probably a whole learning thing. You know, I don't really go back and like, oh, I wish I did this differently. And the way I look at life and probably anything in general is, you know, like, yes, I did this. Could I have done it better? Yeah. But to me, it's like, I just got to learn from it. And that's how I go about like life in general, not just softball.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's probably some things I could have done differently or even better. But like I said, I don't really regret anything that I did at NC State. Everything that I did was with heart and with passion, and I probably would never regret anything I did. So,
amen. Amen.
Awesome.
I love that. Great. So again, Wolfpack Nation, thank you so much again for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed again, kind of talking a little bit, you know, learning a little bit about Angie's you know, career at NC State, and again, make sure to tune in for part 2, where we're going to be talking a little bit more about this year's team, talk about the program, you know, moving forward, and, you know, also too, maybe, you know, just what the future of NC State softball looks like. So make sure you get tuned with us for part 2. Make sure again, hit that subscribe button so that way you don't miss out when we release any new NC State content. Give this video a like if you don't mind, so that way more NC State fans can see this per the YouTube algorithm. And also to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. But thank you all so much again for tuning in. Make sure again, join us for part 2. As always, go Pack, y'all.
Go Pack.